Wine-related items and wedding gifts are an insanely popular woodworking niche on marketplaces such as Etsy. And they make really fun gifts or maybe just to upscale your own home decor. The cork holder is a really popular item inside those niches where people basically want to remember how much wine they've consumed over the past year. So today we're going to build one. It's super simple, fun project, and I got a little surprise of my wife. If you stay for the end, I'm going to do a little customization that I think she'll really appreciate. All right, all we're going to use for this project is a piece of my go-to edge glued panel that I get from Lowe's, a scrap piece of 3/4 inch plywood, and a piece of acrylic sheet or plexiglass. All right, we're going to drill the hole in the top piece of the cork holder where you're going to drop the corks in, obviously. And I usually use a spade bit, but a viewer in my last video made a comment, said, man, try a Forstner bit. You have so much less tear out. It'll work so much better. So I actually have a 1 3/8 inch Forstner bit or a 35 millimeter. It's typically used for drilling hinges out. So that's why I already had it on hand. So we're going to use that, see it, and we'll see if this does in fact cause a lot less tear out. So. Well, look at that. Jury returned the verdict in 60 seconds. Look at that. Almost zero tear out on the top. Just a tiny, tiny bit on the backside. Forstner bit wins the day. So a big shout out and thanks to John Robideau 4123 for your comment and tip on that Forstner bit. All right, the only semi-complicated thing about this build, and it's not really even that complicated, is we need to cut a groove into all 4 sides of this wood. So we fit the acrylic sheet inside it. And it's not complicated. You don't need a special tool. We're just going to do it on the table saw. We're going to lower the blade down to about 1/4 of an inch, which means it's going to cut 1/4 of an inch into this 3/4 inch wood. So it creates that groove that we slide the sheet in, okay? We'll get on the table saw. I'll show you what I mean. First thing we're going to do is remove the kickback guard. And then we're going to lower the blade. I do have this nifty little tool I've had sitting in my toolbox for a while. It will give you an exact measurement of the blade, but you don't really necessarily need that. You can just line up the piece of wood and then lower the blade to exactly where you'd want it. And then we're going to bring it in about 1/4. So I cut these at 4 inches, so come in at 3 3/4. And then we'll get all 4 of these cut. So you see there's the cut, nice and easy, came out real smooth. First we'll line up the 12-inch bottom piece, and you do not need Craig screws on this because it is not that weight bearing. You can simply use glue and brad nails. Then we will glue and brad nail side 1. Quick note here, you are gonna have that channel coming out the bottom, the groove that we cut on the table saw. So make sure to move your brad nail hole down because you don't want to put it into that channel and thus impede the positioning of the acrylic sheet. Also, at the end of the build, make sure you fill that groove in with putty, wood putty, like we're gonna do the brad nail holes as well, so that is all covered up. And then we will glue and brad nail side 2. All right, all assembled. We will get this stained. We will cut that piece of acrylic sheet that we will slide into here on our notches that we made. I'll take the last piece and then get that secured on the top. And we'll be done, except for I'll use my wife's Cricut machine and we will put something colorful, creative, and probably something that she won't like on the front. All right, I'm gonna go with dark walnut today, I think. Leave a little bit for the glue edge right there. All right, I've got my sheet of acrylic right here. I'm gonna measure this. I'm gonna measure this here and from here so that we get the correct cut on this piece of acrylic so it fits in there nice and snug. So remember, you can always cut more, but you can't put more on. So err on the side of caution when you're cutting like a piece of this. You know, obviously it's not as plentiful as all the wood scraps and whatnot you may have. So cut a little bit more if you need to, and then you can cut it down to make sure you got the right fit. As you can see, I went really slow. That's the best way to cut this. You go too fast, it'll start chipping it. So pretty decent cut. All right, I give enough time for this to dry. Got it set up. I'm going to spray it with some spray poly. Use your mask and let that dry, and then we'll assemble. All right, I'm going to peel off the protective film. I'm pretty confident in my measurements, but we may have to recut. Perfect. All right, that bottom one slid in once I turned it up vertical. And let's get this top piece on. Snuck over to my wife's computer. Got something going on the Cricut. It's gonna be great. All right, I got the Cricut thing done. I'm gonna put this on here. Man, I'm so excited. I think my wife's gonna love it. This Cricut thing is not as easy as it looks. Yes! Woo! If one letter gets messed up, the whole thing's ruined, right? So as it's going on, you got to be so careful. If you've messed with a Cricut before, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's a great machine. I mean, you know, for personalizing stuff, and sometimes something like this is nice, but it's when you add the personalization, it turns it in, you know, turns it from like a 6 to a 10. And that's really, if you're selling stuff, that's really where you could get a lot more money for those. All right. The wine scale. Drop them corks in there. Okay, hey, I got my wife, YouTube, my wife. You've seen her on other videos if you watch my channel.
Hello, fans.
All right, honey, I made you this gift. It is a, it's a wine scale.
Wine scale.
Okay. What it does is it holds your corks when you drink wine, you know, so you like keep track of them. Like a keepsake box.
Oh, nice.
It could be for gifts or from wedding gifts or just, you know, little keepsakes. Mm-hmm. And then it's a scale, right? So you have regular, you know, you fill up to the regular line, the expert line if you get it up here, and then if you really fill it up, you get to the my wife line.
I think these corks will not even fill up to the My Wife.
These are not all your corks. Let's be honest. YouTube is watching, honey. Be honest.
I only saved the expensive bottle wine corks, okay? So he makes me drink cheap wine. So
That's not true. That's so not true.
So, yeah.
Subscribe and tell your friends, please, so I can get my wife some decent wine. This
And then
poor
I'll save
woman
the
is so
corks.
deserving.
Yes, I am.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.